Hello everyone, this is Joseph Porter, your host, and you're listening to The Next Layer. In this podcast, we're looking to explore the world of additive manufacturing, from hobbyist applications to complex engineering solutions. Our focus is to not only learn about the current state of the market, but where it is going and how individuals like you and I can take part in these trends. We'll be interviewing hobbyists, engineers, and scientists, discussing new techniques, applications of technology, and discovering what the future of additive manufacturing will entail. Whether you're an aspiring creator or a senior research scientist, we hope that you listening are able to learn something new. We'd like to thank our sponsor, MarketLyst.com, for making this episode possible. MarketLyst is an online contract bidding platform for additive manufacturing where local manufacturers have access to a wider range of work that they can bid on, and clients can receive offers that best fit the needs of their project. If you're interested in saving time and money on your next 3D printing project or taking on more clients for your business, stop by MarketLyst.com. The link is in the show notes. In today's episode, I have Tanner Metzmeier on to talk about MarketLyst.com. In our discussion, we talk about where MarketLyst came from, what's been learned along the way, how the process works, and why this all may be relevant to the listener. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. So I've got Tanner Metzmeier, the co-founder of MarketLyst.com, on with me today. Tanner, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Just to talk a little bit about myself, I'm an engineer, jack of all trades at this point. I graduated from mechanical engineering school at Rose-Hulman, of course, alongside you. And ever since, I've been jumping around from electrical engineering roles to cybersecurity, and now full stack development, and of course, co-founder of MarketLyst.
So as the listeners know, I am also a co-founder of MarketLyst. And in today's episode, we are going to be diving a bit deeper into what is MarketLyst and why it's relevant to the world of 3D printing. And to do so, we're going to start with taking a few steps back and where it all started. So let's dive right into that. Tanner, where did this all start?
So when we were in college, Joe had many ideas of products we could pursue, and one of the ones that we both found interesting was related to 3D printing, and it was a product to prevent 3D printer failures. We really started low to the ground. We did everything as cheaply as we possibly could, but what we really found out at the end of the day was, while we could design these 3D models and conceptualize this product on paper, it was actually really difficult to produce on a pretty tight budget. We uploaded our 3D print to another website. They would give us an estimate that we knew was 3 to 4, all the way up to 10 times as high as the actual cost of the device or of the print, and that doesn't even count shipping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's kind of the core bit of it all, is that we knew what prices should be coming from the engineering background, but we didn't have the tools at the time to construct it ourselves, nor really knew how to go about it. So we're kind of in this weird juxtaposition where we wanted these parts because we were on a budget, and I think that's a common problem for a lot of people, is when you're trying to make anything on a budget, right? But you know what they're supposed to cost. It's always kind of a painful reality. So in that idea that we had for forming that product, we came to this point where we recognized just the absolute, we recognized the reality of the cost it would take to run this idea. And we realized that the idea might not be so great for us right at this moment due to our budget.
Yeah, and to delve into how we knew the calculation, how we knew what the price was supposed to be. Calculating the price of a 3D print is relatively easy. In fact, you can just download some slicer software from any of these providers online, as well as their open source ones. And all you have to do is put an STL file into the software, and it'll spit out exactly how much filament it's going to use, and the time that it'll take, and it'll actually estimate that cost. And so we knew that these companies were gouging the price, adding as much as like 1,000% to their profit margins. So as we kind of pursued this hardware startup a little farther, we got to the point to where we really wanted to build up the hype for this product, and so we ended up posting it on Kickstarter to see if we could get any pre-sales. We got a decent amount, and the Kickstarter campaign unfortunately was unsuccessful. We did not reach our goal. I believe our goal was $5,000.
Around
$10,000, and we ended up with only about $2,000. But hey, $2,000 is better than $0 in Kickstarter sales. Whether you make the money or not, it proves that there's some sort of actual need for your product. So I felt like we were really onto something there. However, unfortunately, circumstances tore you and I away from the project, and we decided, when we came back together, we decided to tackle something larger.
And so we regathered, and we kind of settled on this concept that if you're not really making the product, you should try to be selling it. And once again, this all kind of comes back to the concept of barriers to entry and the prices to make products. And when we're working on a budget overall as two dudes in college, trying to make a startup, things can get pricey, and we were not able to put out those dollars. Because everywhere, entrepreneurship, you always see that people dream of landing these huge investments and all these various different things. But in reality, oftentimes, it's a few people with a few bucks in their pocket trying to make a dream a reality. And so we were in this concept that we knew there were problems to solve in 3D printing, and we had our frustrations, and that's sometimes the best places to start when formulating an idea. So we dug back into that issue, and as Terrence said, we're kind of going for something bigger overall, which was, let's deal with the issue of this expense. We knew the prices of 3D parts. We could figure that out. But the issue was that all this manufacturing for 3D printing was kind of treated like a one-sided industry, where the prices were absolutely exuberant and were way over the top. And what we noticed is a lot of these platforms also take out the choice of who to work with, and also remove a lot of the local choices. Because you see that, there's some of these platforms that have local 3D printing, but they still control the selection process in it all and take a large cut when it comes to the margins, especially from the manufacturer. So your only options are either to pay the same fees or to go ahead and just buy your own 3D printer, which, what we realized when we first got our 3D printer is that there's kind of a learning curve. You can usually get plastic down, that's fine enough, but to have a good quality print that meets all your needs and the understanding of design and whatnot, it can be quite extensive. And so this is where the overall concept of MarketLyst was born, was a platform that pushes for a fair market price and democratizes the small batch production. So what that means is that we're really trying to allow the price to be controlled by the market itself, by those who are requesting the price, but also those who are making the product. And that we've created a price estimator tool, and this gives you the price of the print itself, but it also doesn't include the human expenses of it all. So we allow that to be up to the manufacturer. And our goal in that is to really make sure it's a fair price. And we do this by incorporating a closed letter auction system.
To elaborate a little bit more on closed letter, unlike other bidding websites, closed letter auctions are more similar to the way government contracts are done. Each party that is interested in fulfilling the contract submits a closed envelope, back in the day, of course, and the client who has posted the contract receives the closed letter and can see it. However, all the manufacturers, the people who are bidding to earn the work, are unable to see each other's bid amounts. So by taking away the ability to see who's bidding what, it actually drives the prices down because you're too afraid to go high, because you're less likely to get the work the higher your price is, especially if someone who is competing with you has a much lower price than you.
Mm-hmm. And so we believe that this is the best method for getting the best price for the project needs that people have. So, and with that, so our overall goal with MarketLyst is just making manufacturing fair and then also accessible for the common man. So that's our overall goal with this platform. And we won't block you for being good at your job. So with that context then, Tanner, what is MarketLyst?
So really, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. MarketLyst is a contract bidding platform where anyone can post 3D print jobs, big or small, and have them done for a fair price, all while we democratize the way work selection is being done, but also by employing a closed letter auction system that will allow you to get the best value for your product.
Thank you, Tanner, for that explanation of what MarketLyst is. And thank you, Tanner, for hopping on the podcast today to discuss MarketLyst.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe. I hope to be on here again soon.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Next Layer, a podcast for all things 3D printing. If you really enjoyed this episode, we ask that you please share it with all your friends, subscribe, and leave us a review. Thanks again, and we hope to see you at The Next Layer.